Welcome to Conversations with Jess. Here we're going to talk to some dope wellness professionals. They will be sharing their knowledge, important information that mamas should know. So get ready, get something to take some notes as we jump into our topic for today.
Hello and welcome to Conversations with Jess. My name is Jessica Fisher Golden of Mama Matters, and this wonderful being here is
I am Marsha Evans. I am a licensed professional counselor, and my private practice is Willow Tree Counseling and Educational Center.
this wonderful woman over here. We're gonna get into some really good conversation with her. Please grab your pens and your pads, Mama. She's gonna drop some gems and some jewels. No pressure, Marsha Evans, no pressure. But I just want the mamas to be ready for this conversation because she does a lot. I'm going to try to pull all of this information out of her if she doesn't share, but grab your beverage of choice. I got my peppermint tea right here. And
Yes.
we're just gonna go ahead and get started right away. What are you drinking on?
I'm just drinking some water and I'm drinking on some nature. You might hear some birds in the background and some roosters and some dogs and maybe some cows. So I'm just really giving myself a dose of nature and really hooking back up to the source today, this
And
morning.
you're sharing that with us. I do hear the birds now, so that's a beautiful thing. I would love to hear a cow because where I live in the city, we have no cows roaming these blocks and these streets. So that would be awesome. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. So Marsha,
Yes.
please tell us what you do. We know about Willow Tree, but please tell
Yes.
us what it is that you do.
I'm a mental health therapist. I would call myself a family specialist. Um, I help families navigate the different things that they encounter throughout the developmental stages of their children. I help mothers in particular just realize their power and the power that they have and the influences that they have with their children and the family dynamics within their homes. And so, how I do that, there's various ways that I do that. I might do that through yoga, giving a mother their voice, or understanding self care is really important. I might use my sound bowls, um, giving a sound bath, which is the crystal bowls or Tibetan bowls or tuning forks or gongs or drums or flute. Um,
All
or-
instruments. Wow.
yes,
Okay.
yeah. Or I might do something called family constellations, which deals with the morphogenic field that we all come from, and really looking at our family lineage and thinking about learning about our family themes and how we can really live the way we desire to live. And so once I can get one person from the family to start understanding their power and understanding the energies that are passed down from generation to generation, a lot of times they can start healing generations before them and after them. And so I really take parents usually bring their children in, but if I can get their mothers, then I've been able to guide and witness three generations to healing since I've been in private practice for 14 years. Yeah.
That's a lot. And that's super awesome. So what led you into this field?
So what led me into this field? It was my mom. And it actually was, she was going through a lot with my brother, and I would hear her cry at night, but she would always get up as a strong woman. And I knew as a young, my brother's 5.5 years older than me. So I knew at a young age that I never wanted to hear my mom cry. My dad was kind of removed in a way emotionally. Um, and just what that had impact on every individual within the family. So what really drove that was the being able to be there, like how one was I had no voice during that time. I just had to play the good daughter. And I am big on giving the children their voice and understanding that they have a place in the family and their feelings matter as well. And so that kind of led me to the place I'm in of I wanted to help people realize their power, but also give them a voice. And so I started in play therapy because it gave kids an opportunity to speak without speaking, being able to play, that was their natural space that they could play and work things out without really, sorry, using these words that you and I may understand, but through play, they could release any tension or emotions that they couldn't articulate verbally. So, yeah.
That's cool. That is cool. I
Yes.
know that and I looked into play therapy just a smidgen because I heard about this before and I thought that this is pretty cool. I actually remember seeing a documentary about, I didn't know it was called play therapy at the time, but like a little girl playing with dolls and just like what she was doing with the dolls. Now, we're not going to go down that rabbit hole because that documentary was a little scary.
Mhm.
But it did, to your point, right? It gave her the opportunity to express herself without using the words. And most importantly, the adults were able to kind of figure out what was going on in her
Right.
world by what she was doing. So that is that that yeah, that resonates with me for sure. And I think also when it comes down to just children having the opportunity to express who they are, like you said, to find their voice,
Right.
because, personally, I came up with the children are seen and not heard kind of upbringing.
Right.
So we were told a lot like, okay, you just sit down and play, you go do this, like adults are talking. And now that I'm in a position where I have littles and I feel like I'm in this hybrid space where it's like that's a learned behavior for me, right? So like you're not supposed to talk back. Basically you're not supposed to have anything to say. You're just supposed to be told what to do and
Right.
follow instructions. That's it. And as we are in this era of gentle parenting and me and many other mamas and parents in general, I would assume are if you did not come up in it and you're trying to go that route, like what does that look like? Does that look like a child running over you? Go ahead.
Yeah, and I think it's kind of, what do you define as gentle, right? And so I think when we think about a child is seen and not heard, right? Excuse me, it's really, how do you honor the inner child in you as a mom, right? And as parents. And so what does gentle look like? So you might have a child that's very emotional and able to be verbal. And so I think you have to really gauge what's gentle for each child, but also really understand what's gentle for you as a person. And so what's the lineage that you come from, and what is gentle, and really like dissect that, because sometimes in the generation we came from and the families that we come from, right, gentle may be looked at as a weakness. So being able to change that word towards something that is flexible, that is, so a word that I really pushed for my business when I started is flexibility, and whatever flexibility looks like. So it could be being a flexible parent. It might be, I have these boundaries, but how can I be flexible? So sometimes gentle can be like, I'm not being gentle, because that could be seen as weak, right? And so
Mm.
sometimes it's the word play. And so picking a word that really fits you as a person, as a mom, and fits your children, because there might be a child that they're already gentle, and you're going to dance with them in a gentle way regardless, where the other child might not be gentle. They might be like raw. And sometimes you need a certain level of assertiveness, and maybe it's, I have to be flexible, because the child that is gentle may look like you give them certain um things that I don't get, right? And so it may be being a flexible parent. And so I think that parenting is hard. Motherhood is hard. You don't really get rewarded until they get in their 20s. And so I think one of the things that's really big is like, how do you take some of these pressures that society puts on parents, on moms, and don't allow it to come in your house, right? So, yeah, I'm gonna be a gentle parent, but sometimes you can't be a gentle parent. And how can you be a flexible parent? So it gives you room to dance in a different way. That, oh man, I'm not being gentle. And then like mommy guilt is real. It is real.
Hello.
It is real in this field. And so how do we, especially if it's like trying to navigate it by yourself, like, am I messing up my children? Am I doing this? Am I doing that? Right? So you need to be flexible. And what does flexibility look like? What are your end goals for your kids, right? What do you want them to have? And every day is not going to be perfect. So taking the pressure off of you of like, how many days in our lifetime, right, personally, have we messed up? And are we messed up? Right? You know what I mean? Like just thinking about that. And I think motherhood and parenting, it's like, oh man, I messed up today. Is that going to impact them? How many boo-boos do they have? How many times, how many times did you mess up a meal? And it's like taking the same mindset that you're resilient, your kids are resilient, and being able to like go with the flow. You don't always have to dwell on something and think that that messed them up. And so being flexible and really letting them know that you're going to be flexible. So what does flexible look like for them? And so then they can start getting that mindset of like flexibility, um, and how they can dance with that. Like, what does flexibility look like in their day? Like, hey, we're gonna be flexible today. This is what it looks like. And being able to start promoting that within your family, you'd be surprised what that looks like.
Over here, like, first of all, it's two things you said that I'm like, I'm clutching my invisible pearls. First of all, this mama guilt. Oh, that issue's real. It is real. And then you you went immediately to, did I mess my kids up? Which is what I was thinking
Right.
when you said that, because I truly believe a lot of what we experience, and you touched on that as well. A lot of what we've experienced, like we hand this down. Sometimes subconsciously,
Right.
sometimes, on purpose, but it depends what that thing is.
Right.
And another point you brought up, and I am being very intentional and not like living in my head, in a sense, like my experiences are my experiences, right? And what I mean by that is someone else could have, I'll just say, for example, may have like this awesome relationship with their mother,
Right.
and I may not have had that experience. So in my mind, I'm very jaded on like what motherhood should be, what it looks like, whereas somebody else's experience may have been completely different. And as I grow as a person,
Right.
as a mother, I'm learning, and you touched on that too. And I'm just like, that's, ladies, I really hope y'all got your pens out, your pads. Like I'm telling you, she's dropping gems, and I hope y'all picking these things up. I really do. Because this is like, Marsha and I had spoke previously, and I said, I don't know why we have not had this before, why we have not set this up, because this, not only are, as mothers, as aunties, as, just other roles we play in our lives, as women, do we affect these young, the little youth, as we call them, the little youth coming up. Is like, this is paramount, right? And it's not just about like what we instill in them, but we also, some of us have some self work to do.
It's okay.
Uh, and I applaud you for what you're doing, because I think that it is so important for these littles. And I'm gonna get off my little my little soapbox, but it's because I truly believe, and I can see the passion in how you deliver what you're saying, because I know that you're passionate about it. I can see it, I can hear it. And I'm so grateful for you and the work that you're doing. I
Oh,
really am. I
thank
really am. I want to pivot just a smidgen. You touched on these sound bowls,
Yes. Yeah,
and I
yeah.
would love for you to explain what that is,
Yeah.
please.
Okay. So it's interesting. Before we got on a call, I was editing my actual Monday meditation. It was sound bowls and uploading it to my computer for my release on Monday. So sound bowls have these frequencies, these healing frequencies. And so these crystal bowls, I might use crystal bowls or Tibetan bowls. And so they are connected to these different frequencies and chakras, and also letter, like if you've played an instrument, you might have an A, and an A may be connected to a certain chakra that can heal. So C, for example, a low C is connected to your root chakra, which has a lot to do with your identity, it's your first chakra, and your family. So if you are deficient or over, it's too much root chakra, the sound bowl can really ground you and get your root chakra to where it needs to be. And so, what I use sound for is an opportunity. It's similar to play for kids, but it gives everybody an opportunity to heal and heal in a way that they don't have to use the words. It can open them up and then it can give them words. So sometimes we experience trauma and pain, and we don't necessarily want to go and rehash that wound or open it up. And so sometimes what I've experienced for myself and for my clients is that it will work its way through that wound and give it what it needs, and it will make it like neutral again, right? In terms of, and you don't necessarily have to relive it. So the sound is that the sound can put you to sleep. The sound can put you into this relaxation space, take you out of fight and flight and freeze, and can put you into this space of rest and digest. And so I really like to use that medium to really get people to just realign with themselves, kind of hook back into themselves and take them outside of, take them, pull them away from a man-made energy field and getting them back connected to the source, the universe. And so you can use the sound bowls. Something that I did the other day was I was walking in nature and I had a sound bath, and it wasn't the sound bowls, it was nature. And I heard a
Mm.
woodpecker. I was able to really connect with the trees and think, hey, do trees doubt themselves when a storm comes? Do they stand in its place and get connected and understand that the network that's underneath the ground is supporting everybody? And so I hooked back up into the universe and to the natural, it's not man-made. I hooked back up into the sounds that way. And so I listened to the birds and the bees. I saw the deer. And just you can, this rhythm that we all have, our body is really equipped to heal ourselves. And if we're not, the doctor doesn't have to diagnose, your body really communicates. And so through sound healing, you actually can hook back into your body, and your body will then communicate in a way that you can understand that language, um, so you can heal yourself. And so that's where I use sound to help people get them realign with their body and learn their mother tongue, learn like relearn their mother tongue, which is their body's language, so they can understand which way to go and not have to. I'm not saying nothing's wrong with the doctor, but understand that there's power within themselves. So yeah.
First of all, this question about what does a tree feel? I was like, wow, I never thought.
Yeah, like when the storm comes in, like
Yeah.
and so when one gets knocked down, it's still, we think that they're alive, but they're still connected because there's this network. And when I think about the forest, it's like, do they doubt themselves? Because if they look around, look to the left, look to the right, look behind them and in front of them, they have their family. They see in front of them the trees that might be smaller than them that are growing. And so we all impact. And so I that's, we're not individuals. And a lot of times I see in families that they think they're individuals. We're really all connected.
Oof.
So you can take the mindset of the trees. So if you're not feeling good as a mom, understand that your kids are going to feel that. So then how do you realign or ground, or just realize that every time you leave the house, you come back something different? And how do you kind of clear your aura so you can show up for your kids? Or you can say, hey, today I'm not okay. Mommy needs a break. And that's where you can start teaching like mental health wellness. And that's where you can start telling them, hey, sometimes we need mental health hours. Sometimes we need a mental health day. But it's all about communicating, but really thinking about the trees and thinking about how supportive they are. And they don't have a weatherman on the news telling them what the weather is going to look like. They have the animals, they have the birds. The
Hmm.
trees are they are connected to the universe. So it's, how do you see your family as a tree? How do you see yourself as a tree? But then how do you thinking about your system, how do you support and how do you communicate like, hey, I'm not okay. I need to lean in. Or how do you create a network, a village for you and your kids and your family? Yeah.
I think that is a phenomenal point. I resonate with that village and the support, for a long time I have felt that I did not have a village. And
Mm,
I recently just started actually changing my vocabulary when it came to that because I think in my mind what support looked like or what this community looked like was actually like having people physically present, and I don't have family where I live. So for me it's like, all right, I'm often finding that I'm just in this, I think you called it the flight, fight or freeze.
yep.
Is that right? That I'm just like, all right, we got to figure this out. We just got to do this. And I'm moving, moving, moving because I got to, and I don't have, this network of people around me, which is part of the reason why I started this Mama Matters community, just so that other mamas didn't, if they were in that similar situation, that they didn't feel that they were alone, because to the point that you're bringing up, like, I mean, I'm going to go ahead and say it, but I think that the mamas are the foundation of the family,
Yeah.
period.
Yeah.
There are so many roles that we play, and outside of just like physically carrying, this life in us and all of that, I really think that is important that we take care of ourselves and allow ourselves, like you mentioned about having this time, like if we need a break, whatever that break means to you and what
Right.
that looks like, I think that's very important. Now, I am horrible. I am horrible. I will say this at um any type of self-care for the most part. Like I'm a giver. I'm constantly giving, giving, giving. And I heard what you said about wait until they turn 20 to reap the
Yeah,
rewards.
it's like, yeah. And that's the thing about like giving. And I'm like, I tell my moms, I was like, just go to the bathroom for 5 minutes. They'll be okay because what you're doing is you're actually enabling your children. You're actually, and people don't see it that way, and I get it. And a lot of times it's coming from their own childhood. So, if it's like, oh man, my child can't do this, can't do that. Well, I am I am all for organic consequences. And what I mean by that is this: I'd rather have your children fail while they're underneath your roof than going out into this world and they're not underneath your roof and fail. The world is a lot harsher than you as a parent, as a mom. So a lot of times it's really asking yourself, as you're being a giver, where is giving coming from? If you're a people pleaser, where is that coming from? That's coming from your own childhood. So if you're constantly giving and giving, that has nothing like who you are. That's almost like, let me give to let people know who I am. But you're enough as a mom and a person that you don't have to give to be like, let I'm being seen. So, and it within that, then it enables sometimes your children, and I know no moms like this or parents, then it makes your kids entitled. And no parent
Mm.
wants an entitled child, right? No, and
Yeah.
so it's just thinking about that, like how healthy is the giving? Because then it could be a detriment to your daughter that you may have, and they see mommy constantly giving, giving, giving. So then that becomes a trait that they have. And so you just have to think of, all right, well, why am I giving? Why am I giving like that? What does that look like? What's that? And just understand, a lot of times parents want to catch their children before they fall. But a lot of
Mhm.
times they need to fall to know what that fall failure felt like and know, oh, I have mommy's hand or daddy's hand to help me get up. And so there's a difference. My mom caught my brother before he fell. I always fell. And I can tell you there's a difference between my brother and myself. I will go out in the world in a different way. I try to start a business in China. Like I will do these things because I know how it feels to fall. And I don't look at failure as a loss. I actually look at it as a win. So just think about that of being there for your children, but sometimes they got to fall. Sometimes they got to fall. Or, hey, let me walk next to you and show you how to advocate for yourself. Let me walk next to you, not, hey, let me pick you up and carry you across the finish line, because then they
Mm.
know what success looks like without somebody else. So,
Oh gosh, don't hit me with the soap because I'm like, that was a lot. First of all, can I say that this whole like this is all me and I get it. Meaning like from my perspective, because I'm projecting, like I don't want them to fail, but I absolutely hear your point. They have to learn.
Right.
And I struggle with that. I struggle with that for different reasons. And oh, you hit me with the so. So,
Yeah.
gosh,
So
wow.
I think it's really important for mothers to journal when there are certain things that their children may trigger, so then you can start finding the birthplace of that. I think it's really important for moms to be in some form of counseling or have a relationship with a therapist, because then it doesn't mean you have to go every week, but they can help you throughout the developmental stages of your children, so then you can be the best you, the best mom, the best parent. Like, but first you got to be the best you before you can go be the best mom, because you were you before you became a parent. So I think it's really important to have somebody that's for you to process. Being a mom is not easy sometimes, and the society doesn't allow moms to say this. It's not saying they don't love your you don't love your children. Sometimes there's days you don't want to be a mom, and that's real. But there's not always the space to say that. Um, and that it's reality, you know? So yeah. Yep, yep, yep.
She hit
Yep.
me with another so there.
Yeah.
That's facts. I mean, it's facts. I think there's a lot of societal pressure. There's pressure from the family. There's just a lot of external, and then we're not even. And you touch on the internal pressures too, right? Because everybody has had their own experience through life and certain things that they have stuck with them, and you know, be it good or bad or indifferent, it definitely shapes the person as a whole
Right.
and it shapes what they exude through their energy. Earlier this week, my son and I were having a conversation on the ride to school about how they're different mamas. And it's so interesting because I think there was like a little kid walking to the bus stop or something, and I was explaining to him like, "Oh, look at that kid, how independent he is. He walks to the school bus and what have you." And that kind of kicked off the conversation about parents, right? And I didn't realize that he that he remembered this, but I think it was like Monday of this week. We were standing waiting to cross. So we get to school or the area of the school. We're crossing the street, and there's a mother, and I think he said it was three kids. I never looked back behind me to see how many children, but I know there were some kids. And I was having a conversation with another mother and her child. And I just heard like the bark. And this is what I call the bark. This is, oh, no, you didn't forget your shoes. And it's just like, okay, I pivoted a little bit so I can focus on the conversation. I
Right.
also gently turned him as well because then the profanity came out. Then the like just that tone. And I hear that often. It drives me. When I tell you it's up there with me in traffic, I can't stand the traffic and I can't stand like the parents in particular. It's usually the mothers with this aggressive tone and demeanor towards their children. Now, granted, I don't know everybody's situation. I
Right.
am not here to judge. However, I oftentimes feel for the child or the children. Like, man, if this is what it's like in the streets when you are at home, like I can't even imagine.
Right.
And so the conversation with my son was just talking about, there's different mamas and sometimes they speak differently to their children and so forth and so on. And he recapped like, oh, you mean when that lady was talking to her three kids? And I said, that's a example. And he says, yeah, she was really mean. And I said, yeah, well, we don't know why she's mean, but I will try to take these opportunities as like, this is about to be a life lesson, son. So, yeah, we could be having a bad day, but that doesn't mean everybody around us has to have a bad day. That doesn't mean we have to speak to each other that way because how does it make the other person feel? And he got quiet, which he does often because I think he's thinking about it, his little 6-year-old. mine, but wow. Listen, the stories, the things I see in the stories, just with having these littles in well, my oldest is in school. The baby will be in school this school year, but this is why I go back to the whole like the work on the individual. I think that's important.
Yeah.
I really, really do. I do. You mentioned about yoga
Yes.
and about that so talk a little bit about that. Like, what is the yoga with the mama?
So the yoga is, um, it's really acknowledging the body. So I'm really big on getting back in your body. So the one thing that I have to say that I think a lot of people do not speak more about is that every time a mother has a baby, I'm not saying the dad doesn't, but every time a mother who's carrying the baby or even adopting or whatever, there is this rebirthing experience. You become another person after you deliver, and even while you're carrying. So from your first child to the second, you're a different person because you're actually dying, and then there's this rebirth. You're so close to death that then you come
Wow.
up and then you deliver a child and you're bringing life into it. And so through yoga, we actually really, if there's trauma stored in the body, or really like connecting to your womb, right, in a different way. And so through movement, it's really giving power to your story that's in your body that sometimes it gets stored away. And so through yoga, it's the same thing as sound. You can work through pains and traumas, and you can then like liberate yourself and come into this space of peace. Um, and just having a ritual. You could do it for 5 minutes. Doesn't You could do one pose or two poses. There, you could do like a yogi squat, and that in that space, that when you do the squat, um, it that's where women store all their trauma in their pelvic floor. And so that's where the birth can, there's so much
Yeah,
that is
yeah,
associated there. And so if it's like just getting on the yoga mat and doing a yogi squat, there's there's so much that can come out of that, that I've done it and I've cried, and people just don't realize. People want a quick fix, and I get it. We're in that society, but there's been millions of years that we as humans have healed ourselves through movement. If we think about, and like our people back in the day, there's people that through drums and music and movement, through dancing, through like hitting the ground, the earth, they've connected in the vibration and they've healed. So, yeah.
yeah. That's very true. That is very true. So where can mamas find you?
So mamas can find me on marshalistens.com. Um, and I have a YouTube called Marsha Listens as well. And you can submit your email, and then I can get in contact with you. You can set a time to speak to me. And then also on my YouTube, I drop some jewels, right? There's meditation on there. I'm about to put some yoga sequences on there. So they want to follow me and they're it's cute. And so just doing that. And that's where I can be found.
We thank you for being found, okay? We thank you for being out there because yeah, I think as I said earlier, I think this is very important. I really, really do. I find the value in it. I don't know if I ever shared this with you, but I do play so Marsha does have this sound bath video that every night I put on before the littles go to bed. And I just thought it was very peaceful, and it is something that um they could benefit from because I'm trying to listen, we're trying to bring everybody. We're on 10, we got to come down to 2, and eventually we got to get to sleep.
Yeah.
And I just put on a little speaker system in the house, and that's what I do. So thank you for putting making that
No
video available.
problem. No
Thank you. And I
problem.
look forward to this yoga series as well. I will definitely make sure, and I hope that you mamas do the same as well.
Yes.
So before we go, I have one question that I always ask.
What's going on?
What is one thing, or what are some things that you think mamas should know?
That I need them to understand that they are amazing, and I need you to tend to yourself, even if it's 5 to 10 minutes each day. Because as you tend to yourself, you're showing up for yourself before you show up for other people, and that you're important, and that you're the common denominator in a lot of situations that you're connected to. And so if you're not okay, understand that you are powerful, that everybody kind of around you is not okay. So I just need you to tend to yourself. Self-care, I understand it's cliche, but it's very important. Um, and so I just want you to start taking 5 to 10 minutes. I'm not asking you to take an hour. I'm not asking you to do a spa day every week, but 5 to 10 minutes. Really find time to show up for you, and just start noticing a difference. And that's what I want. My takeaway. I would want moms to start doing, and because I've noticed a difference when I have moms in my practice when they start doing that. I notice that there's certain things they don't respond to where they would respond and like urgency or get irritated or become irritable. I just notice like when they start taking care of themselves like that, even if it's 5 to 10 minutes, they don't respond the same way. So self-care.
Mamas, there you have it. Self-care. There you
Yes.
have it from Marsha Evans, licensed professional counselor. There you have it. Her words, not mine.
Yeah.
I'm still trying to follow that though. I
Yep.
really am. I said I'm a work in progress.
Okay.
So thank you. Thank you so
Yeah,
much, Marsha.
I appreciate it.
Thank you, mamas, for joining us on Conversation with Jess. And until next time, see you soon. Bye.
Wasn't that dope? Thank you so much for joining us today on Conversations with Jess. We'll see you in the next one. Bye.